Hi guys, welcome to my very first episode of Ammonia Void. And this very first episode I decided to dedicate to the topic of photographing the female nude. I have been asked about this question many times because it's a genre or topic very close to my work, or majority of my works are centered around that. So I decided I'm gonna do an episode on this kind of idea and see what we have been doing wrong in history, what we continue doing wrong, and how we can improve. So, as we know, throughout history and visual culture, women have been sexualized, objectified, and exoticized for ages. So, what was exactly the problem with this? Um, I think in majority of times it was usually the man who was behind the camera, who was very often imposing his ideas on the models. So there was always this problematics of male gaze, of imposing certain ideas on how a woman should look like and how a woman should present herself. And like the times have changed a lot, and now I see in the discussion the problematics of male and female gaze. And to be honest with you, I am not a big fan of these concepts because I think it's very limiting to think in the way that a man inherently makes a damaging picture of a woman. And I have been talking to many photographers about this. And I think that many male photographers are actually feeling this guilt or shame that they don't know how to approach this genre from a tactile perspective, or from a perspective where they wouldn't feel judged. And I think it's limiting because then it's almost self-censorship at some point. And I must say there are some really great pictures or photo books made by men of women, and some really terrible pictures done by women of women. So I don't think it's necessarily the question of male or female gaze here. I think it's all about the intention. Because I think women can also photograph from the perspective of a male gaze. So I think these kind of concepts become very confusing. So I would like to bring a story from how I actually came to photographing female nudes. It goes back to COVID. I think it was 2020. And I remember I was sitting in my studio apartment back then. It was like 20 meters square. I was sitting with a friend of mine, and we were having a glass of wine. And my friend, she's like an occasional model, and she told me she came from a shoot, and she said, "My God, Linda, I just feel like a chair after after this photo shoot." And I asked her why exactly, or what happened, and she said, "Yeah, I just felt like there was no space for me to express myself at all. And I felt like I am playing a role that this person imagined for me, but it's not me at all." So she was really kind of regretful of the images that she did, and she was just disappointed with the whole process. So that brought me to the question, how would you like to be represented, or what was missing for you? And we were both thinking about it, and that night was the first night that I really dived into this topic, and I experienced a form of connection that was almost spiritual, I would say. So after we finished our drinks, we said, okay, let's try to take some pictures together. And I think what happened there was that I didn't direct the shoot almost at all, because I felt that my friend really needed to express herself, or like get rid of this tension or this disappointment from the shoot. And when I gave her this space, insane energy just flew out of her. And it was such an intensity that I have never experienced before during a shoot. I felt suddenly we connected on like a mental, creative, spiritual, energetic level. I don't know how to describe it. And we were riding this wave of a high together. And I remember at this place, my apartment was so small, but I had this terrace which was actually bigger than the apartment itself. So we were at the terrace, and I wasn't really good with decorating spaces at the time, and I still think I am not good at it still now. But I had this one wooden table there, and the apartment was just like structured that all the other buildings were with their windows were facing that table. So my friend, she was already standing naked doing some crazy poses there, and and I just started noticing that some lights went on in those windows, but we didn't really care, and it was like 2 in the morning, and the climax of the shoot was when she was hanging from this terrace. There was like this metal frame or something, and underneath there was this little corridor. I told her, don't worry, I don't think anybody is gonna come there. And so she was hanging from from this metal thing, and I started taking some pictures, and suddenly the light went on, and my neighbor and my neighbor was started walking through, and he just looked at us. He's like, girls, are you okay? And my friend just looked at him back, and she's like, I've never been better. And just this feeling, it was very cathartic. We both think about this shoot with a lot of fun. It was great, and those images, they feel very real for me because we both enjoyed the shoot, and it was just so free. There was no posing. It was, as I said, almost a cathartic moment that she released this negative energy into the space, and I could capture it with my camera. And for me, it became so important to, or maybe I take it as my kind of responsibility and purpose in my photography to redefine how we see women and their bodies, their sexualities, because there was always this such a small thread of how we can imagine that, and it's very narrow for me, and I want to give women their power back, their agency, in the sense that they are very much free to express themselves however they want. And the way I approach my photographs, which is of course it can be universal, but it's something very personal, so it's not like, okay, you guys have to do this, but it's more like we all have our different ways of working, approaching people, and working with people. So this, I'm just sharing how I am working with my models. I think the most important part is to put my ego away completely, because I don't like when you are part of a shoot when ego is present, because it immediately inserts a hierarchy into the space and into the, let's say, the energy of or the creativity, because then of course you have different personalities. So somebody is very extroverted, very exhibitionistic, somebody is very introverted and shy, so it takes more time to get into the flow. But I think to break the ice really helps when you give the space to the person in front of you to just express themselves however they want. And also what really helps is not to really define, okay, now we're gonna shoot, but rather that it's more of a organic process. You can still talk together during the shoot. It's not like, okay, 3 2 1, let's go, you start posing. No, that's so strange, so artificial. No, so I think with my friends or with the people that I work with strangers, I always try to analyze this situation and I just start photographing when it feels right for both of us. Because if you insert this hierarchy into the shoots, it's almost like a blockage. You have this person in front of you that's like onion, let's say, and you have to strip down slowly those layers so that the person trusts you. And I also want this to be a mutual thing that we enjoy. So I trust them and they trust me. It's a mutual thing. And it's very important the people that you choose, because you know there's a certain reason why we pick people for our photographs, whether it's the way they observe, the way they look, if there are some features that we're inherently attracted to. There are so many reasons, but there is a certain reason why you chose that person. So once you figure that out, you can know what type of people, what type of personalities you're dealing with. For me, I I realized strangely that I choose people based on the way they look, not like physically, but the way they observe. And I caught myself many times scouting or approaching people in public spaces because I caught them looking in a certain way, and that is a connecting factor on how I approach people, because I recognize something in the way they look that it communicates what I want to actually express or say within my photographs. Also, there is a certain darkness that I work with, and darkness doesn't necessarily mean to be negative. That I think is a preconception that I often deal with it. Okay, darkness for me is an energy, very intense, and also feminine energy. So for me, it's connected to sexuality, let's say, and to also like darker things that we experience in life. And because for me personally, I'm not really interested into these portrayals of the soft, tender woman. I have seen it 1 million times. So for me, it's interesting to explore the other side, the things that people are kind of afraid of, that they close or put underneath the rug or under their bed. Those are kind of the emotions, the feelings, the states that I'm interested in. You have to find, of course, for yourself what is interesting for you. But you know, once you figure out the reason why you're taking photographs and what is the intention behind it, I think you can push your photographs, especially within this genre, to have more depth. And by more depth, I mean that the body of a woman becomes like a portal to somewhere else. It becomes a vehicle to transport you to a certain emotion, to a state, something where you can also project something of your own to that image, even though I didn't intentionally put it there at all. That's the beauty of interpretation, that you cause certain states, it moves you or it doesn't, or it disgusts you. But if it does certain reaction, that's, I think, a great thing, what you can achieve as an artist. And you know, I have chosen 5 books to kind of like finalize this episode, where I think the authors really achieved like a certain, how would I say it? That through photographing female nude, they allowed me as a viewer to go to a whole different dimension so that I can see beyond the body. For me, those books are really examples of how I like female nudes to be presented. It's of course my personal selection, personal opinion, personal taste. So you can see if it inspires you or not. I'm not gonna open them here because otherwise I get censored here as well, which we don't want. It's just the first episode, so I cannot go wild here. But I'm gonna show you. I don't have any light. Oh my God, we have more light. So let me show you what I picked for you. So I start soft. Um, I don't even know if I can show the cover actually. I'm gonna wait. Okay, wait. Maybe I can show like something like this. So it's a collaboration between a writer and a photographer. The book is called We Have Been Meaning To. It's combination or collaboration between Marie Déhé and Haydée. Touitou. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. My French is terrible. I'm sorry. And I think it's a very soft poetic publication combining text and images. So you have images like this. And of course, the female body is represented there in a soft, naked form. But the combination of text and images of sculptures often it becomes something else. It becomes a book not about the body itself, but it's just like a very imaginative book. I will put all the books in the description so you can check them out. I think they're great. And another one is My Dearest Javanese Concubine by Luca Desienna. It's published by Blow Up Press. I think you cannot see it here very much. Yeah. So this is actually one of the first photo books that I bought. I was always a big fan of Blow Up Press publications, but this is a story of Concubine from Indonesia and her relationship with a young, almost like a adolescent boy who doesn't have a job and is kind of lost, and they both have this very raw, tender love for each other, and it's so touching that it was actually the first photo book that made me cry ever. And there are not many books that achieve that because I'm not a frequent crier. But here, what is really interesting for me that it is not a traditional representation of a female nude. It's about a story. The story is very strong. That the love and untraditional love, and also untraditional representation of female nude of somebody who became a woman, who was not born a woman. So for me, it changed my idea on how I perceive the genre, how I perceive female body. So it was really, I don't know, mind-changing book for I don't know, trying to show some. I'm not showing the nudes because you know why. But I highly recommend this book. It's very, very touching. And then here, there are a few books that I cannot even show the cover. But so another book is Lilith by Antoine de. I'm a huge fan of Antoine de because I think his images are exactly about extreme extreme experiences in life, and his nudes are often blurred, or because exactly in his photographs I sense that the body is a vehicle, is a portal to somewhere else, and he does it so well that it's almost unreal for me. I will try to search if I can show something from here. No, I cannot. Everything is naked. But here, you know, why this book is close to me is because I will just try to show like this. You see? Because Antoine de always, his work is about this certain darkness, about the emotions, what I talked about the emotions, about experiences in life that we don't really want to share, but we are curious about. And he has the guts to do it, to show it in this very raw perspective. So just to give you a glimpse of what this book is about, so here's a little text. Lilith could be Cambodian, a prostitute, a drug addict. However, Lilith was Adam's first wife before Eve came along. A feminine demon who sexually dominates men and feeds off of blood and semen. Well, As you can see and hear, this book is really intense, and it shows women also from an unusual perspective on how we are used to. So last two books. So this one is Eros Lost by Seiji Kurata. I don't think here I can show anything. No. This book is very interesting because it showcases a lot of the photographer's unpublished images from the 1980s. It's beautifully printed on this. It has like this Japanese binding that you can see the peak in between. And his images are really performative. It's almost that it's a screen grab from a play, or it's very theatrical. So again, it makes you think in the body as almost like a prop. So yeah, I really enjoy this book because the expressions, the poses are really, really crazy, and it's not really about the body and the nude. That's what I find fun. And the last one is very difficult. How do I show this? Okay, I try. It's a photo book by Hideka Tonomura. It's called Die of Love. I'm also a big fan of Hideka's work. It's very, very, I wouldn't say provocative, but maybe it is. I tried to find her other book, actually. I forgot the name of it, but her books are like a high, or like a state, or it looks like you're floating somewhere in the city and you enter hotel rooms and you're like, what the hell is. It's kind of disorienting and very confronting, which I like because it's like a punch in your face. And her other book is about a love affair of her mother that she photographed right above during the intercourse with her lover. So the book is really crossing a lot of boundaries of normal conformist narratives. It's a very, very like taboo stories, and they have a lot of layers. So I also highly recommend to check her work. I'll put all the books in the description, also the publishers, so you can check them out. Well, I'm very curious what you think about this genre. What are your thoughts? What are your favorite books? Please feel free to share. And yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you for staying here with me and to listening to me for almost 25 minutes. So this was my first episode by Ammonia Void, and I see you next time. Ciao, ciao.